Your drawing setup is essential to a successful drawing and to an enjoyable drawing process. When learning any new skill, challenges are unavoidable, to be expected, and honestly even welcomed because they are evidence that you're evolving your abilities. What we can avoid is a problematic drawing setup that hinders your progress. For example, many of the methods of measurement that you'll learn in the coming lessons depend on a proper drawing setup. They simply won't work otherwise. So let's make sure that your drawing setup sets you up for success. There are 3 essential elements to a successful drawing setup. First, your line of sight must be perpendicular to your drawing surface, meaning that the angle between your drawing surface and your line of sight must be 90 degrees. Why is this so important? Because if your drawing surface is not perpendicular to your line of sight, it can cause dramatic distortions in your drawing. For example, if I draw a random shape on this page, and then tilt the page from a straight-on view to a 180-degree angle, notice how drastically this shape changes. It essentially becomes a different shape with different angles and proportions. The same thing happens when you draw flat on a table, where your drawing is not perpendicular to your line of sight. When you raise your drawing to view it straight on, it will look very distorted, and we absolutely want to avoid this. You can create an ideal setup in a number of ways. Setup 1. You can use a drawing bench, also sometimes called a drawing horse or a drawing donkey. These are designed to create that 90-degree angle between your drawing surface and your eye. Setup 2. You can mimic the previous drawing setup by placing your drawing board on your lap and leaning it against a table. For this setup to be effective, position your drawing board closer to your knees. For the measuring techniques you'll learn in the upcoming lessons, you're going to need enough room between your body and your drawing surface to fully extend your arm, and to move it from your drawing to your subject. It might take some experimenting to find a table that's tall enough to support the drawing board. If your table is a bit short, you can place something heavy on the table to lean your board against. This is probably the least expensive, most accessible setup, and the one that you're most likely to use, which is perfect. This is the setup I used most often for years until recently when I bought an adjustable drafting table. Setup 3. You can sit in front of an adjustable drafting table. Please note that you do not need to buy a drafting table. I bought one recently only because it helps me create these videos. However, if down the line you choose to buy a drafting table, make sure that it can be angled to 90 degrees or very close to 90 degrees. Many of the less expensive ones only adjust to about 60 or 75 degrees, and I do not recommend those. Again, this is not a requirement. Placing your drawing board on your knees and against a table is perfect. Setup 4. You can place your drawing board on a chair facing you. Setup 5. You can sit or stand at an easel. Notice that if you're sitting or standing up straight, looking straight forward with no bend in your neck, your drawing board has to be perpendicular to the ground for your line of sight to be perpendicular to it. If you're leaning slightly forward or have your head tilted slightly down, your drawing board can be tilted slightly as well to retain that 90-degree angle between it and your line of sight. Whichever setup you choose, make sure that you can have good posture while you draw so that you don't end up with unnecessary back problems. Finally, make sure that your drawing board is not tilted to the right or left. The top, bottom, right, and left sides of your drawing surface should be at the same distance from your eye. The second essential element for a good drawing setup is adequate lighting. This will help to prevent eye strain and unpleasant surprises when viewing our drawing in a room that's brighter than the one that we're drawing in. Especially once we start drawing more ambitious subject matter, we want to make sure that we're working on our drawings in a similar lighting environment as they might be displayed or viewed in. The ideal lighting is bright and even across your paper. You can use natural or artificial lighting. Purchasing additional lighting is not a requirement for this course, but if you feel that you want or need it, my recommendation would be something like this. I have this softbox lighting kit that I love. As an example, here is my final drawing setup. My line of sight is perpendicular to my drawing surface. I have plenty of light that's quite evenly distributed across my paper. And I always pad my drawing paper with a few more sheets of paper underneath. This creates a smoother drawing surface and makes sure that I don't pick up any texture from my drawing board.